What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B. Watching Dave B on TV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. And you know, I'm riding with Wu Thing. You know what I'm saying? In the loop. That's what y'all call it. But STL, right? You're right. ATL, STL. So for the most part, we're gonna break down some astrology going in on the moon in Aquarius, sun in Scorpio. So the moon is like 28 degrees, so it's about to hit that good point where we're gonna start feeling the effects of the energy basically going into the night, and this is gonna be going to bed on and gonna rise in the morning with. So you know, preparing your mind now is gonna help you kind of moving forward in the meantime. So in the meantime, what to be aware of is it's gonna be difficult. Okay, I think it's good now. So yeah, it's good now. So when we're talking about the moon being in Aquarius, I put in the title "In Too Deep" or "Detached." So for the most part, Aquarius is kind of more that that individual, that detachment energy in the sense of being in your own head, fixated air. So this is having your own idea, which can be very, it could be positive or negative depending on how you're using it. If you're using it for the right things, then this could be a very productive time, kind of building on the moon in Capricorn, you taking your desires more seriously, but not, saying it takes a certain level of discernment and discipline. Like discernment first to determine what's a proper desire to involve yourself in, and then the discipline. The discipline to stay persistent with it, even if there's difficulty or resistance hitting you right head on. So you really gotta kind of keep that in mind when you're trying to decide for yourself, like, okay, what should I participate in versus what should I maybe chill out on, as far as a boundary and restriction. Now, moon in Aquarius, again, it brings a certain amount of a need for communication. And if you're not in a space where if you're not in a space where you feel confident communicating, see, Scorpio and Aquarius makes a square, so that's going to be kind of it's going to be a learning process, something in which you're going to have to kind of deal with on a mental end. Because on one part, right, you're going to be wanting to do what Scorpio does, which is kind of keep things behind closed doors, but the moon is going to kind of want you to also associate yourself. So here's where it can go positive or negative. On a positive end, it could be you associating with things that correlate with your desires, and it can turn out to be positive, right? Or it could be you associating with things that are holding you back in some way, things that are kind of taking up too much of your time and proving to be kind of just like a waste overall. So if you're thinking of going back into the moon, and so it's creating that square. So the square also with Scorpio energy, Scorpio is, like I said before, behind closed doors, doing things that's mostly rooted in, uh pretty much like things that are sacred. So you can't associate with any and everything in a sacred type way, because in some way it'll drain you. You know what I'm saying? It'll drain you in some kind of way, or you'll find yourself kind of saying a little too much to the wrong individuals because you was maybe excited and things like that. So when you get into situations like that, that's where the discernment part of this energy kind of plays in, because you can't just be associating yourself with anybody and everything, because you're going to start to find either getting yourself in situations where you couldn't have foresaw what would end up transpiring, but you being guilty in some kind of way based upon who's around you and who you're associating your energy with. So coming off of Capricorn, you said it's hot.
Guess I gotta
Oh yeah, true.
You could probably figure some give me a Vaseline
Yeah. So when you're trying to decide for yourself kind of what angle to take, it's one thing. It's like you gotta really just. Oh, step outside.
No, set it up here somewhere.
Oh,
Get a phone.
yeah. Let's see.
Yeah. You can just face you. You gotta face me.
Okay.
Sit on.
All right, oh yeah, that's perfect. All right, cool. Sure? Yeah. Cool angle. I like that. Bet. So, yeah, it's good. Yeah. either way. Are you
It's
testing it?
stable and
Right,
stuff.
right, right. So when you're dealing with like I was saying before, the moon in Aquarius, Scorpio. So the sun is how we act on things and what we want to express ourselves as. So we might not feel comfortable expressing ourselves or showing who we are and things like that. But right now, that's kind of why I looked at when we were looking at the moon in Sag, that was kind of time to, it was that expanding into that role of how we want to transform ourselves or escaping from it. Remember that Capricorn was building on that. So in Capricorn, while the moon was in Capricorn the last couple of days, we were supposed to be applying that discipline to that to start to kind of create that system to make it more systematic, to make it more like, okay, these are the desires I'm moving towards. How do I start to create disciplines or procedures to follow that'll lead to producing a positive or productive result, right? So
That's what I was just saying. Like that's why he was holding it.
yeah,
Because I
that
was
first, yeah.
astrology.
Just hey, I mean, it's gonna be short and sweet, pretty much. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go to it till it dies. But Capricorn is all about procedure, so we needed to be putting procedures together to get more control and power and control, because the moon actually currently is passing through Pluto, and that's all Pluto's about, power and control. So right now, our emotional state, how we feel about our status, right? We're on the pursuit of something, or most people, right? So let's say you've already built, it's still the same degree of
High.
you needing to shout out to Schwessel. He said,
So you plan on getting high.
hey, real talk, man. Shout out Schwessel. So yeah, so the moon passing through Pluto, of course, is an emotional transformation to make. And that emotional transformation is in the area of Capricorn. So that's more so, it's like we really need to step it up, get more serious, be a lot more structured when it comes to these things that we claim to desire. And that's what I before about discernment being so important, because having this, just two sides to it. The discipline to be applied to whatever that you discern is to invest your energy into. But again, based upon what you might have done in the past couple months, the past couple days, you might have put what was actually more to the side and chose to kind of indulge, due to Venus being in Sagittarius, indulge in things that's really not good for you. You know what I'm saying? Things that's really holding you back in some kind of way. And those desires, and say you got situations around you that's kind of making you side-eye things, making you a little paranoid, that could lead you or push or motivate you to do things that's kind of going against your true nature, going against your true nature. When we panic within the body, the first thing wants to do is protect it in some way. So that be the first thing. It's like, let me jump to something that's going to soothe my body. Let me jump to something. And a lot of times those be things that lead to substance abuse and just misusing your energy, misplaced energy, and being just off and distracted. So that's kind of that's up against at the moment, and even energies like I'll be talking about Saturn being retrograde in Pisces, the whole emphasis behind it being, hey, don't get too wrapped up in escapism, because right now it's more important than ever to be focused in on what it is you're trying to build for yourself, because there is a gift there. There's a gift for the sun to be able to add and build on what we're trying to structure in our life, is if we are disciplined enough with our desires, if we know how to tame these things. Scorpio season is really a test of control. Do you have control over your own self, over your domain, or are you going to be jumping on the first thing that kind of gets you excited, or are you in a state of panic where you're trying to run to this thing, run that thing? Shout out to Famous Malo. So yeah, when we look at these things now, moving into Aquarius, it really about, are you in too deep to that desire that you're associating with the wrong people and things, or are you detached enough from the things that are kind of dragging you in the wrong direction to stay focused and build on what actually needs to be associated? AKA, yeah, you might have certain a desire to get to from point A to point B, but you understand how far that needs to go versus what needs to be kept to yourself to be developed and worked on. And that developed and worked on, a lot of that is going to be energy when you're looking at like where Mars is at. So Mars just got into Leo. It's opposite the moon. Mars is kind of where we're trying to push things and our willpower and what we're setting as a stage. But I was explaining how, I think it was in the last video I posted talking about the moon in Capricorn, how the thing, so Mars is about to be going forward, and then it's going to retrograde sometime, I think at the end of the month, around the 20th, around the 21st or something like that. Mars is going to retrograde, and it's all the way back into Cancer. So y'all know Mars in Cancer, that's when it's back sleep. This is a first impression.
So it's not even in Leo.
It is in Leo now, like fake Leo. But the thing is,
like they did on that one time. They did this before.
Yeah, and like I feel like times like this where energies do that, it's really like a sneak peek. Yeah, like it's giving you a little preview, especially for like Leo energy sake. It's like first impression of it. It's like fire. You set in that stage and you say, hey, okay, this is what I have to present. And within this space, when it comes to your passions, you really gotta, like, a matter of needing to show yourself so that you can develop the confidence necessary for when it goes back.
That's like when you're aware of it already.
Right.
So you get to know, like, okay, this ain't the real. Already
Right.
is, but it's like.
Right. You got to treat it like the real deal. But at the same time, you know in the back of your head, this is you. Yeah. Like I was watching this thing where this dude was talking about, being successful. And he basically was explaining like failing first.
Oh, it's kind of like with me, like with this TikTok, like this shirt, like, oh, it's kind of like a stage, like, oh.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you get your feelings too caught up in it.
Right.
And then like, Mars go retrograde, passions run, then it's like, then they go back and Leo. It's like, what you
right. And let's say you put it out. Let's say you was too scared to put it out. You wouldn't have been in the space to get the confidence to be like, oh, I could actually put it out. And it get traction.
It is sparking like my Mars. I'm like, ooh.
Your creativity, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta like really push to get things to show for it. But see, the thing is, not everybody gonna feel comfortable with themselves enough to do that and question themselves and kind of be in that like, oh, should I not? And you'll miss the opportunity right now where we have Mars in a powerful space. Leo is a powerful space for Mars because it gets to fixate in its creativity or its passion. It can go too far, but it gets to play it big. You know what I'm saying? Be like, hey, this is what I got. Lay it all on the line. But you want to do that right now. It goes back into Cancer. You got something stable to stand on. You got a fixated mind state, or passion, or feeling about something that when you start to get those second questions, or you have to start to develop and nurture something more, you at least got a confidence behind it. You have a tried and true,
like the proper emotion you go place on what
right.
You have. Because the emotions like kind of help you too.
Yeah, the emotions is key because
like the proper feeling for what you're doing. Like, oh, I love it.
Right.
I love it, or do you hate it?
Right.
How you really
feel. That's a good point because that's kind of what it's coming down to. Knowing how you really feel is going to help you be more honest and authentic in it. And right now, we know the most important thing right now is like, with everything going on, that's the number one problem people are running into. They having troubles with being authentic. And they're questioning whether or not they should, go forward or whether they should come back and things like that. And so, but the answer is really like for it, you know what I'm saying? You got to go for it to see at least. And even if it doesn't go in the way you expect it, it's why you got to detach from those expectations. And this is kind of where the moon opposite Mars comes in. Understand that, okay, just because I feel uncomfortable about these passions don't mean that they're wrong or don't mean that I'm wrong.
Okay.
Appreciate you. You said great out. Thank you for listening. So, you know what I'm saying? So when we're building on these types of things right now, like, that's basically what we're going to feel. Open into like, but when it comes to, that's what we're going to be dealing with right now. The moon opposite Mars, we might question our passions. It's almost like the energy of the mother holding back a son who got too much energy, who has, maybe passionate dreams and wants to go for something. But the mom is kind of like, wait, but don't, worry about this. Don't forget about this. Yeah, are you sure? Are you sure? You have to kind of break free from that energy a little bit so you can get to where you're supposed to do and take off. Shout out to Kevin from the Netherlands. I said Netherlands. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up, man. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're gonna be dealing with for the most part when it comes to our passions. But we have to remember the space we in. We in Scorpio season as far as our actions and how we push out things. So when you said Neverlands it is. Right. When it comes to how we going about yeah, we're in Scorpio season. So Mars is a key figure in this whole mix. You know what I'm saying? How we're going about things is going to deal with Mars. The thing about Scorpio and Aquarius, you got to think Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. So falls in Aries like a Mars sign, and it has difficulty in Scorpio, but at the same time Saturn, when it's in Capricorn, sextiles Scorpio. So there's something there to be worked with. So it's about strategy, right? But the problem is when it comes to associating yourself, you can't really be too, you know what I'm saying? Because think, oh, I'm getting over on this. People are kind of thinking, you got to think, people could possibly be thinking the same thing about you. So it's better to approach things in a more genuine space, trying to one up somebody secretly. Or you might find that people around you could be in some kind of imaginary secret competition based upon their lack of life or not knowing what to do with their own passion and energy. So, you know, if you
Seem
find,
like Scorpio is good with Libra, because I was gonna say Scorpio is good with Libra, but Gemini is a misunderstanding, and it's square
yeah,
Aquarius,
yeah,
so it's
yeah,
only like good one on one, but like so.
right, yeah, because Scorpio with Gemini is a little too either too, it's like too mixy, right? It's like, so I don't know, you know,
Yeah, it's like
too much in the
too
mix,
much for Scorpio.
right? And then versus Scorpio too intense for the Gemini energy. But you're right, you know, pair it with, if you're gonna pick an air sign to pair Scorpio with Libra, you know what I'm saying, and they right next to each other, so they share that kind of, you know, again, it's a relationship that becomes a bond, or a relationship that gets deeper and more intimate. So, you know, same thing in the way that gets developed is through Saturn being exalted, through close relation, planned out for a long time. Yeah. So when you're thinking about, you know, the current energy and how to move forward. So the moon being in Aquarius, like I was saying, associating yourself, it's about coming genuine. The moon's also going to be squaring Uranus in Taurus. So your values, your stable, fixated values, which you've been kind of setting as a foundation, these things right now, you have to learn how to implement those in the way you associate. And see, the moon, this is more about the emotional state. So you have to be in a certain vibration or space to already be in your own time behind your closed doors. When you're alone to yourself, you need to already be associating with your own interests and your own actions in a way that you would like to maybe involve others, right? If you want to be a part of a team, or let's say you got a skill or something like that, you want to be a part of a club, right? In this club, it's centered around a certain thing. But if you just do the thing when you go to that club, you're not going to really, you're not going, it's almost like you're going to feel like you lack in that area. So you need to be doing this behind closed doors. So even at that club, you need to make sure you be doing those things that club is about behind those doors. Those are going to be the people who get the most out of that association. Otherwise, you just coming around probably for a check, or probably for the look, you know what I'm saying, to be looking like, oh yeah, I'm part. But when you go home, you be into very different things. Guess what? It's not gonna translate well. When people come across you within that same space, they're gonna kind of question whether or not you're really involved in what you say you involved in. And I'm using an analogy like a club, right? Like a after school club. But this is how people also size energy up when it comes to just things you do in your everyday life, the things you present yourself as online and things like that. In this new age, that matters. If you just present yourself online into a certain thing, but behind closed doors, you don't touch that thing. You're not even in that same world. It's going to translate, aka people who make content just for a check and things like that. And again, you might find ways that it can work in one way, but the question is, you know, it really is a matter of whether or not that's the type of life you want to live. Sooner or later, you're not gonna, it's almost like one foot in, one foot out, where you don't get the full magnitude of any direction because you're too much on the fence. um but for the most part, like I said before, the moon is going to be squaring Uranus. So, you know, having to learn how to feel or how to associate ourselves with our values, kind of like, how do I take what I value and involve myself in things around me in a way that's effective or productive. um the struggle that the moon in Aquarius is going to have is, if you're kind of on the lower octave end of energy, and let's say you having like one of those hard days or going through a phase, you might feel like the better thing to do is to detach. You know what I'm saying? And detaching can work and it's beneficial, but for the most part, you got to make sure that attaching out of fear and out of, because on some level you feeling inadequate. I know this make it sound in the back. He said, hey, what's up, Sam? So when it comes to this type of stuff, it's like you got to make sure you're aware of kind of where your energy is going. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, in too deep, or detached for the wrong reasons. But you could also be positive way. Like I said, detaching from desires that's kind of keeping you tooted in the wrong shit. You know what I'm saying? If you know that these desires that you into, that you may overindulged in when the moon was in Sagittarius, and then you kind of lack discipline during Capricorn, then now you're gonna start to be like, okay, maybe this ain't the right thing for me. And the thing is, this is creating that square. So whenever we hit a square, this is the middle point of a moon cycle, right? When the moon and the sun square, the first time after it's going to be that quarter piece. That first quarter is done. So now we in the summertime, right? Whenever we hit one of those pivotal points, I said summertime as in referring to moon cycle. So whenever we hit that point in the moon cycle, this is a time to either double down or switch up, based upon is what we're doing actually leading to a potentially fulfilling full moon energy, or am I doing things, am I planting seeds in the right area in my life? And you can always tell, because the square point is going to bring friction, and that friction is showing you, it's like it's either going to be, oh yeah, this is friction, but I see the benefits of me going through the struggle, or it's going to be, man, I feel friction, and actually I feel like things are getting more difficult, or I feel like things are kind of getting more out of my favor. So at this point, hopefully, if you have been planting bad seeds, you can look at yourself and say, dang, okay, you know what, I need to switch up things and detect maybe what I was too invested in, or what I justified, even though I know deep down inside that wasn't the right thing to be participating in. And we have to be able to be real with ourselves. A lot of times shame will keep people from admitting the truth, and you can't do that. You lack self-awareness. The more you try to hide from yourself, the more you're gonna find the wrong things to get into, and that's gonna make it more dramatic when you have to finally come to the come to grips with, oh man, I got too deep. I'm in way too deep on the wrong things, and I have to now backtrack. And that's gonna look like all the conversations you had with people in your life that y'all had conflict. Is all the things that you spoke on from a space that wasn't really yours, that you now have to account for. So that becomes when you change your mind, how deep you got in is how much work you're gonna have to do to get out, aka people putting you in that previous mentality or sizing you up. Well, no, last week you was just doing this, or people bringing up old things to be like, hey, how have you changed? I see this, that, and the third. And this could keep you feeling like you stuck. But you always have the ability to change, even if people don't agree with it, or want to come to grips with it, or don't want to accept it. At the same time, you can't control what another person does with their mind, but you have the power to change. So if you decided that you change, and it leads to you just having to completely detach from that space, so be it. But that's kind of it doesn't have to be that way. You could prevent that from just allowing yourself, paying attention to certain, being honest with yourself when you're getting in too deep on a certain end of an energy and things like that. When it comes to, yeah, so the moon in Aquarius is also going to be, is that what, square, no, sextile in Mercury and sextile in Venus. So this is obvious for the way you think and what you love and appreciate and value, to start to kind of be on that same page, right? So how you feel about, it's almost like giving the right emotional state to have conversations that maybe can spark love or more investment into support and things like that, showing a different side of your because see, when you talk about Aquarius and Sag, these energies a lot of times deal with intellect. You know what I'm saying? One is like the philosophy, emotional side of intellect, and Aquarius is more the analytical, logical side of intellect. So these together, it's like the expansion of being able to pretty much tackle a broad topic in a unique way that helps others expand. So you can use this for your own life, basically to either associate yourself with things that are going to help you learn more about what you want to support or what you value, or this is going to be the potential to kind of get space where you feel more comfortable and confident communicating in ways that allow others to support you by seeing you in a different light, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you're pairing this with the proper use of the Mars energy and stuff in a way that's like, okay, you setting the tone, you setting the stage, you giving a good first impression, and you're allowing yourself to go through the uncertainty to develop more confidence space that you behind closed doors you was building up on. Saying Mars going through Cancer, you was supposed to already be building up on it. Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know what. I was like, yeah, we. Who? But yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind. You know what I'm saying? So, what else? So the moon also is going to be moving through. So moon moving through Aquarius when it comes to it's not gonna make no direct alignments to Saturn or Neptune. Um, let me see. Can I see the alignments? I thought I remember. I think
I had some.
Pluto, true. The North Node. Yeah, so the moon's also gonna be sextile in the North Node. And let me see, Uranus and Jupiter. That's what it is. Okay, yeah. So right here is gonna be sextile in the North Node and Chiron. So right here, the moon being in Aquarius, it has the opportunity for you to uh oh, okay. It's the opportunity for you to now find things that are more in alignment your spiritual path. If you're allowing yourself to again detach from the things that's keeping you away from your true self and where you're trying to really go, it's opportunities to kind of either start to associate you with that, or you could even find yourself in a space where, based upon you just how you're trying to move and how you're trying to express yourself, sometimes the universe will do something where you'll do everything you want. It'll seem like things are kind of falling apart, but to try to fall in place in some kind of way where you'll be expressing yourself and you'll be thinking, man, I'm trying to do everything right. I'm trying to do things the way I'm supposed to. I'm just being me. I'm just being in my energy. When you do that and things start to fall away from you, because based upon what you're into, you might find that other things is kind of falling away from you. Things are starting to try to ghost you. You could take that personal and kind of get into a negative space. But what you'll realize if you step back from that energy of taking something personal in that time, things ghosting you is actually you being protected in some kind of way, or kind of open the door for you to have more space and room to find the things that are supposed to be associated with you. So, if you find yourself in a very alone space, you just got to ask yourself, okay, have I been expressing myself in a true way? Have I been, am I being myself? Am I being true to me? If you're being true to you, then it's a matter of just holding on. Observe for a second, identify what's going on, and look inside of things, because it might not be that first personal emotional tie you bring. That a lot of times comes from issues when we was younger, and that have come back up and are the cause of doubt in certain areas, and us kind of questioning whether or not we're on the right path and all those different things. But to when it comes to that, you just when it comes to those type of things, you just got to keep in mind, like, hey, it might not be what you think it is. That's why, again, when it comes to the mind's first instinct, uh a lot of people want to just go with that, but they don't realize how much kind of trauma and baggage they got behind that. So their intuition is really not intuition. It's kind of their anxiety with a voice. And so they kind of look at, okay, the first sign of something and panic, and then panic mode be the first thing on their mind to react to. And then all of a sudden they kind of spoke too soon or put themselves in a situation where they're like, dang, okay, now I got to retract. Now I got to bring it back. So, right now, especially in Scorpio season, you want to just make sure you're really looking deeper into things rather than just going off of the first instinct that kind of make you feel something, because you don't know what kind of emotional biases you're carrying. You don't know what space you might be already too deep in that's causing you to want to associate in a way. Um, but yeah, that sextile with the moon in Leo. So the moon in Aquarius sextile in Mercury, Venus in Leo. I mean, Mercury and Venus in Sag. Again, those things are going to be expanded. Mercury is already in a space in which is going to have different things on its mind, and it's normally with. Mercury is home in uh, Gemini, Virgo. So when it's in a Jupiterian sign like Sag, even Pisces, but right now currently Sag, it's going to have different things on its mind. That a different way of looking at things that could be now creative, or that could just be you coming up with stuff, going too far, exaggerating things beyond what they need to be. So you want to make sure you're kind of sizing, say you checking yourself on certain things where you just go out and express it before you just go out and communicate it. Make sure that it can actually apply to the situation, because you might be, when it comes to our experiences, we might be interpreting our experiences wrong. So by our interpretation being wrong, the way we try to communicate about what we're interpreting ends up being bad advice to others or to ourselves. That's how bad advice is formed. Think about when you're getting advice or giving it. When you're giving advice, a lot of times it's like, giving advice is you kind of assessing the situation, right? Analyzing it and coming up with your meaning and reasoning based upon how it compares and contrasts to what you've been through. So this is like you adding your own spin to something that we can all consider as common knowledge. And that unique spin, if it's positive, that becomes wisdom. That becomes, still wisdom, but it's more so from the perspective of seeing that as the foolish way of going about something. So when you're in this space right now, being that we have Jupiter in a Mercurial sign, we have Mercury in a Jupiterian sign. These are switched, flip flop. So when we're analyzing things, we might get it wrong. And being that we analyze wrong, what we come up to compare and contrast, meaning and reasoning, be
Oh, it's like a
slightly
balanced
off.
opposition. So it's really like
Right,
not an opposition.
right.
It's like helping each other.
Yeah, it could. It could. You know what I'm
Full
saying?
circle almost.
Yeah, full circle. And that's only if you really have enough kind of if you allow things to kind of like bounce off yourself, take that extra think through what it is you're interpreting, because if your interpretation wrong, you're just going off the cliff.
It's like Mercury is thinking about its experiences, and Jupiter is,
They trying to talk about it.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
It's all like,
flip flop.
yeah, full circle.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So it could be the petition for good balance, you know what I'm saying, to make sure you're, I like how you put it, it's like understanding what's going on, where what you say Mercury is
Thinking about experiences, and then it's like your actual experiences is like, I guess, thinking or communicating.
right.
It's like you could. It's like communicating about your experiences in a way else.
Right.
It's something to be communicated. Something like that. It's like a
Yeah.
little circle thing.
Right. Communicating about your experiences, because they're
Yeah.
something to be communicated about, or just Mercury thinking about its experiences.
Yeah. Or just some air stuff like already in your environment, familiar stuff on your brain,
Right.
stuff in your mind, stuff like that.
Right. 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 So we also have Jupiter in Gemini. You know what I'm saying?
Or you can experience like your thoughts, or like you can experience the things you're thinking about.
Yeah, experiencing what's on your mind. So better have good things on your mind. So you know what I'm saying? You don't be experiencing nothing crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, when it comes to all those types of things, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to all those types of things, we got to just keep that in mind. When it comes to our mind, it really is a time right now. We have to take double. We have to double down on make sure we're directing our mind in the right way. What's up? What's up? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Greg Kennedy. You know what I'm saying? He said famous mom. Yeah, okay, cool, cool, cool. What's up, y'all? So yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that's how it goes. Like right now, just when it comes to Mercury being in the space of Jupiter, it's like we do want to make sure we're directing our mind to have the right things to expand on, right? So everything is in progression. A lot of the energies we just experienced before are leading up to us being able to have that discernment now to know what we want to invite more into our lives. Because if you didn't really go through enough experience to know better basically right now, then you're going to be in a space where you're going to be inviting the same loop stuff that you keep trying to break cycles from, you know what I'm saying? And that's the whole idea behind, or the whole concept behind going through a year 8, you know what I'm saying, numerology wise, where this whole year has been about in some way trying to break a pattern up. And the only way to really break that pattern is to go deep enough within yourself to catch it. And once you catch moments, that's when you become, okay, now you can put yourself in a position of power and can break that infinity and create a new spin, a new cycle on what was already done. And that becomes what we're going to experience in 2025 numerology wise, which is getting free from that, or basically that cage energy where you feel caged in based on not understanding or having enough awareness of how to get out or how to expand yourself through that. And that's that 9. 9 is knowledge. Going through a 9-year, things are, it's also death in some kind of way or transformation. So it's going to require that in order for you to get to a space to see something new. But if you're trapped due to lack of knowledge, because you wasn't experiencing, you was experiencing a bunch, but you didn't quite make the connections, because in order to make the connection from an experience, you have to kind of go through more of the friction, you know. If you try to play it light or play it cool and enjoy yourself, you know what I'm saying, you try to avoid conflict and have a good time, sometimes that leads you right down a path of not really accumulating anything of value in face. Now hold on. Dang, yeah. That's cool. I was just over.
Put it. Oh no, you can't put it.
Yeah, I just saw it. So the last alignment is going to be the moon, and the moon in the moon in Aquarius trine Jupiter in Gemini. So we were just talking a little bit about Jupiter and Gemini. So a lot of what's going on when it comes to that, that's going to be actually a gift where we can start to associate ourselves with the things that we need to learn more about. So this is kind of, again, being honest enough with yourself to notice and recognize areas where you need improvement, and just being real, be like, yo, okay, I'm gonna take the time to expand, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take the time to pay attention to see what I need to do in order to get my mind right for this area, or, you know, whatever it is that you're look build on right now. And a lot of that can come from, think about and see, a good way to track is going to be the Mars opposite Aquarius, to give you an idea of, oh, I'm associating with this passion, right? This passion of mine I'm trying to express, but I don't all the way comfortable. I need to build confidence. Well, guess what? That same energy that Mars is going through is going to be able to sextile Jupiter and go to Jupiter and say, hey, let's learn this. Let's learn more about me putting myself on this center stage, and that the gift that can be kind of passed down through that sextile, a gift that becomes what we now can start to look at. It's almost like our uncomfortable feelings can start to point out what we need improvement on, or to expand on as far as Jupiter goes. Oh, you pretty creative, huh? That's cool. I'm about done. But yeah, so that's kind of what we need to. He said there's some actionable way you can use this energy to build that confidence you're speaking of. So like identifying what you want to put out, like what you want to express, right? So it's coming from Mars. Mars is in Leo. So you gotta decide, make a decision. First thing is just making a decision, like, okay, this is what I want to express. This creative art, whatever I'm passionate about, I'm gonna commit to it. So once you find, or what you decide on what you want to express, what you want to commit to, that's the first step, is deciding. Boom. Once you do that, take the skills you know and do the best you can to do something with that. And you really gotta like test yourself. So you could do it two ways. You can ask yourself, are you ready to do that? And if you're not, it's going to be you having to kind of test yourself in some kind of way, where it's going to be like you need to be working on the skill. But I would recommend to put it out in some kind of way, or show somebody in some way, because what's going to happen is, even if the response is not the one you want, which is not going to be, but you never know, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people be talented at stuff, but don't ever produce it or put it out for them to get a response. But regardless, it doesn't matter whether people like it or not. It's the fact you put it out, because putting it out is going to let you know as fast as possible whether or not you either got something good on your hands or you need improvement. And they're going to be able to point. Wouldn't even take what they say too literally.
Leo's Neptune is also, you gotta be delusional.
Yeah, you got to be a little
self-narc, Leo, and
you got to put it out.
Be confident in yourself.
Yeah, you got to put it out and let it do what it needs to do. Let it be seen, because again, people gonna have opinions, And from those opinions and the reactions, this is where you actually build confidence, because confidence is built through conflict. In those moments of conflict where everybody's telling you how they feel about something that you put out and maybe felt some kind of way about, see, if you made is true to you, then it's almost like a form of being tested. It's in some kind of way, kind of how Leo is Neptune is exalted in Leo, where it's almost like a faith, because the faith is, do you believe in your own creativity? Do you believe what you see? Because that's what Leo deals with too. It's like seeing. What I see, I believe. And so what I see and put out and with my will create and express, others don't see it that same way. Well, then it's like, so what? But at the same time, if they're aware of it, and let's say many other people are aware of it, I can get an idea of what I might be looking at that might be a delusion, and I can work on that and I can move on that. So, just to answer your question, actionable way to use this energy is to start to uh, put out what it is you declare yourself or commit yourself to be passionate about. You said good point. Leo confidence also comes from being exclusively focused on self. Fuck other viewpoints. Fire. Right. Exactly. And that's the truth of it. You know what I'm saying? And see where it's balanced out. And see, since we have the moon in Aquarius, this is going to give you a nice balance of being able to basically be aware of what the consensus is. Because
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
we in fall for real. So, so when it comes to the moon in Aquarius currently, when you do put it out, and see, this is why right now is a good time to do it, because when you do put it, Aquarius is going to be able to kind of pick up on what the consensus is, the people are talking about, what the talk of the town is, and be able to start to say, okay, is this widely accepted or is this widely rejected? And you can use the Aquarian kind of emotional state to not be so emotionally attached to the answer, and instead use the information to come up with a logical way to now associate yourself more deeply into what can help develop more basically like more skills and more because like when you think about Scorpio, Scorpio likes to, it's almost like investing more into something, so you can start to figure out what you need to invest more attention into rather than just being in your feelings. See, if we was in a different moon sign, you might be in your feelings about what you put out and express too much, so that you wouldn't come up with no logical way to use that or associate yourself, or so what to associate with. You would just jump on the first thing, or say you might choose to do whatever. But one thing that's kind of cool about this moon cycle is that it was hitting a bunch of real uh like we kind of went through a lot of real so we went through, the first thing we went through after the new moon was Sag. And Sag was really like the real big test, because it was like, are you going to expand or escape? Now, if you chose to expand, you'll see we went right into Capricorn, so we should have got right to work. And now we're in Aquarius, so we need to take what we worked on and test it out. That's the thing about Aquarius being associated with or being um, linked to community. Because one thing about a community, it's a group of individual minds all with the same goal in mind. So that's the same as if you were to think of a business that's organized, or an organization, right? And let's say somebody, an employee, has a new idea, or a manager come up with an idea. They're gonna take it to a board meeting, and they're gonna take everyone's opinion into account and say, okay, is this a good move for business organization or not? So take this back into your own self. You can start to do that with your own things that you're involved in and what you're participating in. Express yourself so you can see, hey, as a consensus, is this what I need to invest more in? Or do I need to completely switch it up? Do I need to detach from this because it's a false desire that's playing out as an illusion right now? And if it's that, then okay, I detach from it and I can start to build on something better, But thing is, like kind of like Blaze and Mello was saying, the thing about Leo, when you put it out, it really is you. It's like, if you know yourself, you know your truth, then there ain't really not, like, you don't really have anything to worry about outside of that. Like, if the but the good thing is the consensus to show you what you could do to make it more acceptable, or make it more, I want to say popular, you know what I'm saying? Because but because that's kind of what Leo deals with, even though that's not always the goal. It's not trying to be popular, but hey, that's some people's goal, but it's not so much about popularity. One thing about Leo energy is it understands um attention, and part of knowing how, like, there's things that attention gets you that other things can't get you. That's what Leo understands. So it sometimes it is about what other people kind of like are looking at and what they seeing, you know what I'm saying? Just so you understand how to relate it better. Because the better you can relate it, it's like the better the execution of an idea is. And the better the execution in the and all that, the better you're able to exactly broadly. Shout out to Ton of Vision. He said regulation, right? Regulus. You know, you talk about regulus energies. You know what I'm saying? What's broadly just, right? Hey, are you laughing at me because I was
Nah, I left at the stick.
but yeah, he said, shout out to Ton of Vision. He said being able to etch out packet order of desires based on what's expressed, seeing what's rightfully deep or deep for the sake of avoidance from self. Exactly. Exactly. That's what showing yourself does for you. And that's a lot of what, even again, Mars also squaring a lot of what Scorpio has to learn from Mars, or what, yeah, Scorpio has to learn from Leo, is that if I don't show myself, I can't get a view of what I'm really participating in. Otherwise, I'm just in my own little bubble, and I could be as rightful, or you know, I could be as justified as my bubble. But if that's not the real, then what does it really matter? Because it'll never connect. It'll never expand. It'll never be something that could be broadcast. A lot of people shame and be like, man, fuck the mainstream. But understand what the mainstream does. It's a broad enough signal that can reach many different people, that can reach many different minds. And that's powerful in itself if you really got some real awareness and want to do something that's going to impact the world in some kind of way. You know, if you want to impact the world, you can't do that from a bubble. If you want something important or have some kind of influence, you can't do that by being in your own, you know, hiding under the covers and being like, yeah, well, I'm the king of this little space I have in the back of my mind. So what? You know what I'm saying? And so, and people walk around with so much shame, they don't ever show themselves. And that goes hand in hand.
But the thing about Leo energy is it has no it has no choice but to be seen because it is a sun.
Right.
So it's like regardless, Leo energy is gonna be seen.
Right.
It's the light in you regardless.
Right.
It's just how you gonna be looking is how you gonna be looking regardless.
Right.
So,
yeah. Who you are is who you are. You know what I'm saying?
You control it, or you're gonna be seen regardless.
Right.
Light and shine.
And she said it, control, which Pluto is going to be in Aquarius very soon. You know what I'm saying? I think we got a couple weeks, maybe a week or two. And so that's going to be even a different kind of energy where you're going to have to really understand, like, oh, okay, if I didn't take power and control over my way of associating based upon what I'm putting out and its relation to other things going on around me, if I didn't take power and control over that now, aka developing a status and having that fixated system that you, or that creating some kind of system, right, that's going to lead to the execution being what you want it to be, having discipline too to keep at it, then, you know, go back. He said the Leo Mars will really make that Scorpio sun uncomfortable, right? Everyone has the urge to come out, but acting on it via the Scorpio sun will expose hella vulnerability. Exactly. And the thing is, the harder you try to hide a vulnerability, the harder it shows. He said, right, and if you was really connected to your role, you always have an impact to feel. Right. Being lost in Leo Virgo expectations will have you overlook a blessing right in front of you. Right. Right. Exactly. And it's like it's weird because when you sitting with yourself, you probably going through a situation where there's opportunities there, but if you let yourself just kind of sit and don't be willing to kind of get up and change something, you're gonna feel like it's no hope. You're gonna feel like it's no way out. If you just kind of sit on things right now, you really do have to get up and find some courage to express something, or at least, you know, make it known to yourself that you're aware of what you're working through, and being, you know, showing up for yourself every, just engaging with life differently. You know what I'm saying? It's all about transformation right now. We gotta engage with life differently because we see it going a certain direction. It's really not even about too much outside of us. It's like just you dealing with your own self right now. You know, that's what really what you need right now. You dealing with yourself so that you have to feel like you locked out of this space opportunity, which is the ability to still connect with other people who got similar ideas as you, associate, start to build with people, you know what I'm saying, go outside more. It's just like, it's simple stuff, but it's hard to see the opportunity in it or the gift in it if you're too busy, again, too scared. Scorpio is kind of like just
They have you thinking everybody is the enemy and you gotta hide from something.
right.
But if you have more power and control over your vulnerabilities, those deep waters, those things that you've been holding on to, you can go into like that season a little bit like more free instead of trying to escape from it.
Hmm.
It's more like an optimistic look
Yeah.
on the things that you may be, got deep waters on, like vulnerabilities or those things like that. But
Right.
Scorpio is like, you either go show your vulnerabilities and people can see, because like a healthy Scorpio, you can see like, oh, like they a freaking, they proud, and it's like it's accepted. But those other Scorpios, they just like be all, and like you gotta assume like they must be doing something, like
Right.
but it's like just, yeah, it's that vibe. Like,
Yeah. Real shit. You know what I'm saying? Straight
yeah.
up. And think about how that impacts your ability to associate. You're not gonna want to associate if you hiding from his, like, boom. You know what I'm saying? How deep can you sink in your own skin, still breathe at the surface? Right.
Right.
Basically,
Yeah.
Scorpio gonna bring it out of you. And the better, again, dealing with that uncomfortability, still be able to breathe easy and be show up as yourself. Hey, this is what I got. This is all it is. That's going to allow that real authentic ability kind of connect and associate. See, that's when association starts to become family, almost, in a sense. Like that's when association becomes like, oh no, or our culture or something like that, where it's like now we can feel connected in certain ways. I don't like the word culture, for real, but it's a deeper sense of community, in the sense of, we're a trusted society. I would say community and maybe society or something. I don't know the word yet. He said crash out season, cop out season, fake guru season. And this right here is like crash out preseason, man. Like it's crash out preseason where people like on that edge and finna jump,
Yeah.
But that's what it's gonna look like in sad season. People who not kind of coming to grips with those hard conversations with themselves, gonna find themselves still caged in their own what they say, what's that expression where somebody's trapped in their own body or trapped in their mind, basically, where they're going to be trying to run, thinking they're getting away from something, but you're going to see them same people just go in cycles, in the same circle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He said, right, if they jump the gate right now, it's some phoenix being brought to the light. You're right. Exactly. Real talk. But yeah, that's I'm gonna go ahead in this, and I'll probably go live sometime later, I don't know.
After 8.
Yeah, after 8 or something like that, or tomorrow, either one. But I appreciate y'all. How long we went? Oh dang, that was an hour. That did not feel like no hour. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? So, we might go more deep into these energies in a different kind of way, or might come at y'all with something different. But anyway, much love. I appreciate y'all for coming through, and I'll catch you on the next one.